Welcome to Subscription Prescription, the podcast where you get the information you need to scale your subscription program.
Hi, I'm Matthew Holman, and welcome to another dose of Subscription Prescription, the podcast where we talk all things e-commerce subscriptions. If you're a new listener to the show, I'm really excited to have you here. The goal on every episode is to kind of help narrow your focus, give you some education, and give you some insights or ideas on what you should be doing next with your subscription program. This week's dose is a little bit special in the sense of I'm not necessarily talking through one specific aspect of subscriptions, but I'm actually going to address something that's really common across the board, but I'm going to do it in a way that's a little bit unique. I'm going to talk about some very specific industries that typically offer subscriptions and talk through some of the things that make those industries special and ways that you can customize a subscription journey for your customers if you're selling that type of product. And the bonus is, even if you're selling in industry A, and I'm talking about industry C, you're going to learn something specific that you could take away and some ideas and insights. So what I'm really talking about here is the difference between different types of things people sell on subscriptions. So the most common ones that we can think about, we're talking e-commerce subscriptions specifically, really commonly start with things like supplements, right? So workout, protein powder, things like that. We have pet food or pet products is another common replenishment item that has grown very strongly within subscriptions. We have cosmetics or beauty products because there's an element of something that's being used regularly. CBD is, while that could technically be construed as a supplement, there are a few things that make that unique. I think that is another one that is growing very, very strongly, as well as subscription boxes themselves, right? I know a lot of you listening to this program are selling subscription boxes. And ultimately, really, we can throw in another aspect I like to talk about, which would be Autoship or replenishment items. So for example, you bought a water filter system and you're getting a replacement filter on a subscription or an auto ship, right? I do this, well, I'll tell you more about that when I get to it. So, and again, the point that I'm getting into this is I think there are a few things from an education standpoint of understanding what other brands in your space that are finding success, some different tactics and techniques. So I'm not going to try not to repeat myself too much. For example, if like quizzes are working across the board, I'm going to talk about them once. But let's get started. First, I'm going to talk about supplements. So the interesting thing about supplements, again, if we're thinking about from a very broad standpoint, we have a few different aspects within the supplement space, right? So you're typically either going to sell something that's fairly commoditized, like you're selling a vitamin, say a vitamin C, that somebody could buy almost anywhere, whether it's Amazon or their local Walgreens or something like that, all the way up to really customized, specialized supplements. Say it's a unique formula for endurance cyclists. Very, very specific, very, very much for them only. And it's a special formula that you, a doctor, or other people have formulated. So we have this kind of broad spectrum of commoditized supplements all the way to very, very specialized supplements. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind here. When we're talking about commodities, we're talking about something that somebody can get almost anywhere. So we want to be thinking through ways that you can specialize that as an offer, making it somewhat unique, whether that's a bundle, whether you have a really unique acquisition strategy, right? Say like you're really great at SEO or you have a really great affiliate program for people that are selling these types of things. You also want to be looking for ways that you can enhance those as an offer, right? So is that getting a bundle? Is that getting an extra add-on or gift that's coming along with that? That's a starting point. When we're talking about supplements in general, though, we want to keep in mind that most people are taking a supplement for a reason. There's a reason why they're trying it. Whether that's that cyclist who's trying to find a performance edge for an upcoming race or their training, or we're talking about melatonin that's going to help somebody go to bed a little bit or fall asleep a little bit easier each night. If we're talking about vitamins for a healthier life, stronger bones, there's a lot of reasons, right? Think for a second about ED supplements, the idea that somebody's having, wanting to improve their sexual life with their partner. The reason I bring this up is because if you think about a lot of supplements are solving problems that are affecting somebody's life on a daily basis. Okay, so even just your common 20-year-old guy who's looking for protein powder because he goes to the gym once or twice a week. They're looking for something to improve an experience, to solve a problem, to do something better, or in many instances, to drastically improve their quality of life. Okay. And the reason I frame it that way is because what ends up happening when we're selling subscriptions as a brand, we're often scared to get somebody to commit to subscribe because subscriptions can often be difficult to sell, or people maybe don't want to get into that commitment. The idea here, though, is that we're talking about something that's really, really special or unique. We're not talking about, hey, just here's something nicer to put in your house. We're talking about changing your lifestyle. So with a subscription, that means that we have an opportunity to create a more engaged process and how we can talk to and learn from those customers. So if you're selling a supplement, a really, really common acquisition strategy that's really popular in e-commerce right now are quizzes, okay? Even basic quizzes can be really, really effective. And the reason that they're effective from a conversion standpoint in general is that you can learn, people are like feeling like you're willing to solve a problem for them. And so a quiz is almost like a way of it's I would almost call it like a honeypot or a fly trap, because in a sense, you're showing somebody that you're serious about their problem. And somebody that is seriously trying to solve a problem or find a solution is willing to go through those steps and give that information because they're hoping that there's a better outcome for them at the end of that tunnel or the end of that quiz, for example. So as a really good example, let's just talk about sleep supplements, because this is something I talk about on the podcast a lot. For those of you that may or may not know, I take CBD to try to help me sleep at night. And so it's something that I do talk about quite a bit. And we are going to talk about CBD later on, but within supplements themselves, sleep is a really big problem. It's something that I've done a lot of research on. I've tried different products. I've tried different things, right? I've watched YouTube videos. I've watched Instagram videos. I've watched TikTok videos. I've tried different supplements. I've read a lot on the subject. I have not yet gone to a sleep specialist, which my wife has been bugging me to try, and we might do that at some point soon. But the bottom line is this is a problem in my life that I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out. When I go do market research, I spend a lot of time on that. It's not like I just click on an ad and I go and check out and I buy the product. I'm looking for a solution. And a lot of people this is a very similar mindset within the supplement space, is they're looking for something that's going to give them that outcome. If somebody's looking to get jacked, right, from working out, they want protein powder, pre-workout, glutamine, creatine, all those things. If somebody's training for a race, if somebody's looking to supplement their vitamin C intake, there's lots of reasons that are really powerful and compelling. And so looking at creative ways that are on brand for that outcome of how you can kind of craft that experience are really, really important and really, really vital. So I mentioned quizzes as another opportunity. A similar thing could be said for how you speak to people from a brand standpoint is within those outcomes. A really common mistake I see with a lot of brands in the subscription space, supplements and otherwise, is that you've crafted a product that can do, say, like 10 different things. But you need to identify what the most popular 1 or 2, maybe 3 reasons are why people are buying from you. And if you are already offering subscriptions, you can start paying attention to the types of reasons people are subscribing for and what the retention looks like for that type of reason. So for example, if you're selling a weight loss supplement, and people that are buying the weight loss supplement, you're asking them questions related to what's the outcome you're getting, right? So people that are trying to lose weight before they get married, say they churn in 2 or 3 months. People that are worried about their long-term health and they're over 50 have your strongest retention. So you take that type of information from a segment that you're identifying as being particularly valuable, and you kind of go back to the marketing drawing board a little bit, and you start enhancing the product page to speak stronger to that customer base, and you start creating ads that speak a little bit stronger to that customer segment as well. Now, we also always want to pay attention to like how big that market can be, right? So if it's like, only 1 in 20 million people or whatever could potentially be your customer, then maybe that's not a good fit. But in general, for most businesses, you're going to benefit more from niching down to a particular segment that is finding value from that supplement. It makes it easier for you to market that outcome. Okay, so that's something specifically true around supplements, thinking about that outcome and thinking about how you can craft an experience that is speaking to somebody that is looking for a solution and hoping to get that way. That's where I always recommend that you also invest in creating some of that copy within your email notifications around upcoming orders. If you're sending them content or newsletters, this is just a really simple way to start kind of like creating a more compelling subscription offering. On a recent prescription episode, I interviewed John Roman from BattleBox, and they've created content around outdoor stuff, right? And they use that as giveaways to get people's emails, but also as ways to enhance the subscription box experience for them. The idea is that that content is specific to that user. It's more valuable to them. They're going to be more likely to give you their email for some really great content than they are necessarily for 5 or 10% off their next order. Something to be thinking about and testing. Okay, supplements. That was good. Thinking about pets. I think pets is one of this really interesting phenomenon inside our country specifically and potentially across the world. I can't speak for necessarily pet owners outside the United States, but for a lot of people, they are willing to spend more and go to greater lengths for their pets than they are for themselves. Right? This is common fact, something to think about. The other thing is that people love their pets. It's like they're shopping for their children, right? So I see so many pet subscriptions that are cute and fun, but aren't leaning hard enough into this opportunity. And this is kind of what I mean. Something just super simple, super basic. Are you asking for the name of the pet in question as part of the checkout experience? Because it would not be that hard to take that as an output CSV format, put that on the shipping label, maybe put a little pre-printed insert you can put in that box. Hey, the next shipment for Fido is on its way. That can be in your email copy. It can be as an insert in the box. You can use it all over the place. It's a personalized touch that allows you to speak directly to a customer about what they care about most, their pet, right? So that's something I think is an opportunity that all pet brands should be thinking about is how can you lean more into this experience? Similarly with supplements, talking about quizzes, what can we learn more from an information gathering standpoint? A brand that I love a lot is Herbsmith. You can check out their website, herbsmithinc.com. They basically ask a survey about your pet, asking lots of questions around the type of pet, age, needs, and they basically reply with an email from their team and a veterinarian with recommendations on food, on supplements, and they are able to send that to you with the subscription as like a preset option for those types of items. So the idea here again with pets is thinking through like what ways can I specialize this? There's also within the pet space a lot of opportunity to find specific niches, whether we're talking about how the pet food is sourced, how it's made, if you're selling treats or other things. And again, within the pet space, thinking about content opportunities. So again, as an example, thinking through you're selling pet food and say it's organically made on your own farm. Okay. What's your ideal customer? Is it somebody, are they puppies, dogs, newborn cats? Are they older dogs, older pets? The idea is like when you start to uncover a little bit more about who's buying from you, you can find out more and then tailor that experience to be specific to them, right? So for example, if you're finding a lot of people with new puppies that are buying your pet food or find your pet food appealing, maybe they've never owned a pet before, right? So these are demographic information about your ideal customer. You know, the idea of creating some content around puppy training could be really compelling, right? So now you're not just selling food for puppies, you're selling food with a training guide. Or each month you're going to send, in addition to the pet food, you're going to send a new game you can play with a ball or a treat, something you can even include as an insert if you want to. And again, one of the big reasons why I'm talking about all of this is thinking through ways that you can make a subscription that's more compelling. The retention is going to be higher, and it's going to be convert at a higher level for you, as well as not going down this road of just giving things away left and right to try to keep people on a subscription. It's all about understanding the customer better and finding ways to speak to them in a clearer way. Okay. So when we're looking through cosmetics is a really very interesting space. As somebody who doesn't necessarily use a ton of cosmetics, although I do use some skin lotion and some other things, I may not be your best beauty expert. However, when it comes to subscriptions, I do know quite a bit about them. So when we're thinking through cosmetics, what can make these kind of different is actually, there's actually a lot of similarities to some of the other subscriptions. But again, thinking through what type of angle you're taking on your beauty products, right? Are you talking to people that know a lot about beauty? Are you talking to people that don't know very much about beauty? Are you talking to people that are looking for a new type of style, a new type of a new look? If you're selling beauty boxes, or there's a lot of opportunity here for understanding more about the type of customer you're bringing in, and that is finding your ads and your brand appealing and why, and then leaning more into that in a similar fashion to how I mentioned with the pets and the supplements, whether we're talking about quizzes, whether we're talking about how we're designing product pages and thinking about offers that we can include in those. Now, bringing up CBD. Now, I mentioned CBD separately just because there are some interesting trends there. I work with a lot of CBD subscription brands directly, so I'm very, very familiar with this space. CBD is very competitive right now. There's also a lot of things that are kind of unique in how you can offer them because it's more difficult to advertise for CBD because of regulations around like Facebook ads and Google ads and things like that. So there are some creative ways that brands are getting around those things. And I am not necessarily the expert to try to explain a lot of that to you. Might interview somebody in the future about that. Got a few friends that are really, really good at that acquisition side. But what I want to bring up to you is that within CBD, a really common trait right now is that a lot of people it's difficult for a lot of customers to differentiate between quality of product and how potent a product might be, right? So, you might say it's at 20 milligrams and that there's this much THC, there's this much CBD or this much CBN within those. It's difficult to differentiate from a product standpoint where high quality is. Now, people that try the product are going to find out if they're familiar with CBD, how valuable that product is. But other people that maybe are new to the space aren't going to know maybe as much about that. So, and another common thing is that there's often a lot of a big discount game going on, right? CBD is getting marked up, say it's a bottle at $60, $70. It's getting marked off at 50% regularly. And this happens across subscriptions and e-commerce, right? Where we're using discounts to try to incentivize people. If you're finding yourself in a market where you're very closely positioned against other people that are marking their products down, it's very hard to not do that same thing because you're going to lose out customers. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that you don't go that strategy. But what I am saying is thinking through how you can make that subscription offer more compelling, right? And so some of the simple ways I think that can be really, really powerful for subscription brands for CBD is explaining usage. This works for a lot of other instances, and I've talked about usage a ton. You should check out some of my other episodes on those. Because I think it's a missed opportunity for a lot of brands is explaining how much you should be taking. So CBD is interesting because you might get a bottle with a little dropper, right? And you might, depending on how you respond to THC or the CBD in that product, is how much you should be taking. So the idea is if you're new to CBD, somebody might take 1 or 2 drops per night. If you have used a lot of CBD before, you might need 3 or 4, 5 or 6 drops per night for the dose to have the kind of like a similar effect. So again, when we're explaining to people through on a subscription journey and trying to figure out how we can acquire them better and how we can retain them better, a really common issue within subscriptions is people having too much product. So within CBD, we kind of want to get ahead of that curve right away by explaining to people how much they should be ordering and how often, right? So like if you're low sensitivity or you're new to CBD, you're going to want to order one of these bottles every 6 weeks. If you've been using CBD regularly before, you're going to want to get one of these bottles every 4 weeks because you're going to take 2 to 3 drops per night. You can start crafting product pages that speak a little bit more directly to the end user around how they're going to be using the product. In addition, I would emphasize again, like I have with some of these other industries, that within CBD, a really clear way to differentiate yourself is to start kind of like drawing a moat or a wall around a certain use case that you're trying to speak to. So one of the beauties of CBD as a product, again, I use it, I'm a big fan of it, is it has a lot of different applications, whether people are taking it to help manage stress, to help with focus, to help with sleep. There's a lot of ways where very similar formulas can be used effectively to treat certain symptoms. The problem with that is that when you go after all those things, if I'm just looking for a stress solution or a sleep solution, and you're telling me your product does A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way down to Z, I'm going to be very, very skeptical because it's just going to sound like snake oil to me, right? It's going to sound that way to a lot of users. We often also can confuse people by giving them too many options. So the idea here is, again, is starting to be a little bit more specific. Now, some brands are doing this by branding and tailoring their formulation just a little bit differently so they can sell a specific stress product, a specific focus product, a specific sleep product. And that's fine. What I'm saying is, from a marketing and positioning standpoint, looking a little bit more clearly at which one of those products, which one of those use cases are you finding more success with, not just on the initial conversion, but that long-term retention, right? Who's sticking around the longest? Is it the stress people, the focus people, or the sleep people? Odds are one is going to be a clear winner, or one or two are going to be a clear winner. And you want to start focusing more on those, focusing on how you're building your organic content, your acquisition strategy, looking for those. Because the beauty is, when you already have extra products, you can build upsell opportunities on the back end after the fact, right? We want to get really good at acquiring subscribers because we can upsell other products into them over time. Okay. All right. So that's been a few of the common ones. I do want to dive a little bit into replenishment items. So as a really specific example for this, I've got a hot tub from Bullfrog Spas, and I have an Autoship of chemicals that I get from them. I literally picked the timing option for how often they think I should replace the filters. That's literally how often I get filters. Say it's every 6 months. I have a 6-month replenishment order on filters, and I've got a 6 to 8 week replenishment on some of the chemicals, and they just come on that kind of delivery date. So when we're thinking about those types of very specific items, as a brand, I'm speaking to products that it's a fairly clear when the replenishment should happen. You want to make sure that your frequency options match those, and you want to take out other options that might be too much, right? I really don't like seeing a product page where there's 10 different frequency options, or even 4 or 5. It's nice to kind of keep it to 2 or 3, or even like 1 if it's something very, very specific. Like if it's an air filter that needs to replace once a year, then the option should be once a year. If somebody wants to move that up or change it after the fact, that's fine. But that's something that I would be looking at focusing just to see if that positively influences conversions or not. But the idea is we want to craft this experience so that it's really, really easy. Okay, it's really, really simple. On this podcast and in all of my content, I like to talk about engagement, where you want to really like speak to your customer and find opportunities to engage with them. But a lot of times with the replenishment items, you actually don't. You want to just make sure that they know that you're there, and make sure that they're getting a reminder that, say, your order's about to process or your order's on the way. And again, when we're talking about customizing some of those messaging, you can be specific. Hey, it's time to replace your filters. Your replacement filter is about to process. You'll get it in 2 to 3 weeks, right? So we want to be really specific. We want to be clear on this is how it works, clear on how you can manage it, but also do as good a job as possible about making sure that people know that that's just going to go on in the background. They don't have to worry about it. But if they do, here's how you manage or adjust that. The other opportunity there is also kind of emphasizing that same kind of mentality. I don't see this on very many product pages for replenishment items where people are emphasizing the idea of you don't want to forget the replacement, or worried about how often you need to replace that filter. Don't worry. Check. We've got you pre-selected to get an auto shipment out, right? So again, we want to lean into that idea of people not wanting to worry about it. This is the timing that needs to happen for the healthiest, safest outcome. One that I would like to see more of, as kind of just a funny idea, if anybody's thinking about starting a subscription business, would be a sheet subscription, right? Because most people don't change their sheets on their bed. Like, you wash them, maybe you're rotating 1 or 2 sets in, but sheets get worn down really, really thin. People use them much longer than they should from a health standpoint, as well as like a usage standpoint. So the idea is you could lean into that by saying, hey, how often do you really change your sheets? How often do you buy new sheets? Like, get a sheet subscription. It's once a year. That's the healthiest, safest way to know that You can go down that kind of copy and messaging. But that's kind of the idea with replenishment items, is we want to be speaking to that specific use case of how somebody's going to be using the product and what they should or shouldn't be worrying about. Finally, within subscription boxes, I think in many ways have been around kind of like the longest from an e-commerce subscription standpoint. Certainly like memberships have been around probably much longer than that, but subscription boxes have grown really strongly in the last decade and really the term that most people use to think of a subscription box is surprise and delight. So I referenced a little earlier in this episode interviewing John Roman from BattleBox a couple weeks ago. So if you are interested in great subscription box practices, you should go check that dose out. But one of the things to be keeping in mind with the subscription box is it's a little bit harder in some ways. There's trade-off between, say, you're selling a protein powder on a subscription and you're selling a workout subscription box. The idea, the downside or difficulty is that people are going to be constantly evaluating whether the items they got in this month's box are worth the cost of the subscription or not. Similarly to how, say, maybe a one-time like a supplement might be, people are going to be evaluating whether they keep needing it or not. But the idea is if they're using it, they're going to keep going unless something changes. Within subscription boxes, I think one of the big opportunities there, again, is within content of creating fun or unique videos, unboxing videos, how-to videos. A really fun one that my kid has is a Crunch Labs subscription box, right? So every month he's getting a box from Mark Rober, this great former NASA engineer, with this really fun thing that he gets to put together. He's really, really excited for it. Every time it comes, he gets it out. He does it right away. But there's content associated with that. They're talking about how you can make it, what goes into it. And that's kind of like this similar approach, right? The other thing would be thinking through value. And similar to how we're talking about with other aspects of subscriptions, of thinking, what is the outcome, right? Is this a subscription box for a cosmetic box for a teenager who's just testing out different types of styles or colors each month, right? Is this for a single mom with 3 kids at home? Is this for a new baby? Is this for a guy who loves the outdoors? Like, thinking through all these different use cases, you want to start looking at ways you can surprise and delight your customers. I would also add, if you are a subscription box, if you're offering a subscription box, please go check out the content of a friend of mine, Sarah Williams. She has an amazing podcast, newsletter, community, masterminds related specifically for people that are getting subscription boxes up and off the ground. And I would classify as a subscription box expert, absolutely 100%. Okay, as a recap, thinking through some of these different opportunities, I would challenge everybody here on a couple of key points from a high-level strategy standpoint. The first one would be to look for new ways to engage with people before the point of purchase. What types of things can you offer them that are interesting, whether that's content or a quiz, to ask them questions? And it's not, and I should say with quizzes, it's not always just about a product recommendation tool. It's about finding out if this person maybe is a good fit for your product or not. Or, hey, we've seen cases like yours. That's actually our primary customer. Or, hey, maybe in instances it's not, or we haven't seen the same success for somebody with your kind of demographic profile. The idea is looking for opportunities to engage with someone, learn more about what they want from a subscription before the point of purchase. And then as they purchase, you can ask them questions on the post-purchase survey and engage with them throughout the life of the subscription. The second thing would be looking at small ways you can create more value within the actual initial subscription offering, as well as over time. So like I mentioned, once you understand more about the type of customer you're attracting, you can come up with really great ideas to make this special. Like, as an example, a puppy exercise, you can send somebody within their pet food every month if you know that you're selling to a lot of puppies. Or if you just ask the age of the pet, you just give them the type of insert that speaks to the age of that pet or their breed. Again, you could ask, is it a cat? Is it a parakeet? Whatever it is, what kind of animal, you could send them a specific piece of content or insert, toy, or gift, something to enhance that experience. Again, I would challenge anyone on subscriptions to start thinking through those types of customers that they're trying to acquire, the outcomes that they're trying to solve, and crafting a more complete subscription experience that speaks to that outcome and that solution, you're going to find that retention is a lot easier down the road when you do a better job of connecting with people even before the point of purchase. Okay, that's it for this week's dose. I hope you found a lot of value in here. Please, if you have some time, like, comment, subscribe to this channel. Please, if you have any questions, you can drop them on the show, or feel free to email me at matt@thesubscriptiondoc.com. We have a new YouTube channel that's up. We have a lot of content out there, a lot of things that are available. So please, if you have any questions, ideas, or need help with anything, you know where to find me. And I'll see you next week on next week's dose of Subscription Prescription.
That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe so that you can get notified when new episodes come out each week on Tuesdays.